Greetings, YouTube. Please forgive the hood. As you can see, I have a cat behind my head. Last night at work, I found myself thinking about criticals and a different mechanism for using criticals than I think I've ever seen before. I'm not sure if I've ever encountered this, and I'm not sure if it exists within the OGL school of games. So if I have reinvented the wheel, please tell me. Now, back in the days when we carved our dice out of dinosaur bones, when you rolled a natural 20, you either just did maximum damage or you might roll double damage. And that was it. That's as fancy as we got. Then 3rd edition came around and we had a critical range. Some weapons had a 20, some weapons had, 18, a 19 or a 20 or an 18, 19 or 20. And you had to make a confirmation roll. So I've never liked the confirmation roll mechanic. It's always kind of bothered me. So I thought, how can I eliminate the confirmation roll? Well, while still having the possibility of a critical not be guaranteed. Alright? So you roll your critical range, whatever it happens to be. And instead of rolling a confirmation roll, you just roll the dice. But because it is a critical, all of the damage dice rolled are explosive. And by explosive, I mean if they roll maximum on their die, so if you roll a die 8 for a battle axe, for example, it would, and you hit an 8, it would then, you then roll again and add the second roll to the first roll. And if you rolled a second 8, you would add both of those rolls, and you would roll a third time, and this would continue for as long as you keep getting 8s. So the threat range, this critical threat range would not alter. That's completely up to the GM. That mechanic doesn't change in the least. However, to take into effect that some weapons have a higher critical roll multiplier, some have a 3 or a 4, I was thinking that what if you lowered the threshold for that explosive die? So that battle axe I mentioned, which has a threat as a critical multiplier of 3, would have an explosive number of 7 or 8. So if you got a 7 or 8, it would explode. And if you got a 7 or 8 for the second roll, it would explode, and so on and so forth. Now, for most weapons, this isn't going to be much of a change. It is going to make the, of course, the great swords, which use multiple dice, more deadly, which is fine. I think they should be deadly. They're, 5 feet of blade flying through the air. But, 4 feet of blade. But it could be problematic for critical hits from backstabbing, or the whole idea of doing precision damage, or even a warlock's Eldritch Blast, which does multiple die 6 and is eligible for a critical. But again, you're gonna have to hit that multiple. So now I'm just gonna check. I've pulled up a page here. It gives you random dice, random.org, and I've told it to roll 6 die 6 here. So I'm gonna hit 6 die 6 and see what we get. Bingo. Okay. I've got 2 6s. So, in the event I was rolling 6 die 6, be it either from an Eldritch Blast or from a precision damage from a rogue, you would then roll those 2 dice again. So I'm going to roll it again and count the first 2 dice. Okay? Both of those are 1s. So you would roll the base damage you got, and then you would add 2 more. Now, the problem here is that I do not understand math and probability enough to know if my suggestion is better or worse or the same as a standard critical success on a backstab. So I need someone to tell me that. Someone out there who is mathematically inclined. Is it better to have exploding damage, as I'm suggesting, or is it better just to have the dice be doubled and you roll them twice? So I'm not sure. I don't know. Because, in theory, you could have 6. You could roll 6 die 6, and you'd be rolling all of them over again. Unlikely to get 6 die 6, but, it's possible. Random things do happen like that. So, I haven't tested this. I literally thought of this idea 5 hours ago. I'm just throwing it out here to see if anybody thinks it's got any kind of merit, or whether it is, possibly usable. I'm thinking of using it in 4th edition, the 1992 version of Gamma World, as a critical mechanism, because there really isn't a functioning critical mechanism in that game at the moment. And I kind of like the idea of explosive dice, particularly if you're going to be using energy weapons and mutations and firearms and things like that. I think exploding dice are very appropriate for that particular kind of thing. But I don't think it's out of place for melee weapons either. Melee weapons either. So I'm looking for ideas and thoughts on this. Again, I'm just spitballing this. I haven't written anything down. I just thought of this off the top of my head. And I'm interested in hearing what people have to say. So tell me, particularly the mathematically inclined, does my idea have any merit whatsoever? Does it hold water?